Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating Eastern text that tackles a profound question. How exactly do we elevate the mind in our spiritual practice? We're going to unpack this ancient wisdom to find some real, highly practical solutions for modern resilience. Let's get right into it.
Now, right out of the gate, the source text hits us with this huge paradox. Think about this. If our true spiritual nature, our original mind, is already flawless and inherently perfect, why do we need to practice at all? Seriously, why do we have to work so hard on spiritual cultivation if we're supposedly already perfect at our core? To answer that, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The paradox of purity. 2. Defining spiritual cultivation. 3. Why we need to elevate the mind. And 4. 4 practical methods for elevation.
Section 1. The paradox of purity, and why perfect mirrors get clouded by dust.
The text actually quotes the ancient sage Master Huining here, and it establishes this beautiful baseline. He says that the true spiritual nature is peaceful, uncreated, indestructible, completely self-sufficient, and the source of all paths. Basically, at our absolute core, we lack nothing. We are fundamentally whole. There isn't a single thing missing that we need to go out and grab from the outside world.
But here's the catch, right? If we're already so pure, what exactly goes wrong? Well, over time, as we navigate everyday life, we pick up worldly habits. Your original, true mind is supposed to reflect reality perfectly, kind of like a spotless mirror. But the worldly mind, that gets clouded by ego, bad habits, and what the text calls the 3 poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. It's literally like leaving a perfect mirror in a dusty room. Over time, it just completely loses its ability to reflect clearly. Section 2. Defining spiritual cultivation and the practical training of body, mind, and spirit. So how do we wipe that dust away? The text uses a term called Pen, which translates to cultivation. But what's really fascinating here is that it's not defined as some mystical, passive act where you just sit quietly and do nothing. It is highly practical. It's the active, everyday training of your body, mind, and spirit, designed specifically to transform your bad habits and overcome suffering. It is literally rolling up your sleeves and doing the inner work. Our source breaks this inner work down into an interconnected, threefold path. First up is the body, which means taking strict control of your physical actions and the words you speak. Next is the mind, where you focus on reducing those excessive desires and worldly attachments that cause so much inner turmoil. And finally, the spirit. This involves clearing past karmic debts through good deeds, which ultimately allows that original true nature we talked about to finally shine through. This brings us to a really powerful quote from Master Jigong. He points out that the moment the mind moves, meaning whenever it gets agitated or distracted by external things, 10,000 worldly desires are instantly born. But when the mind achieves stillness, those desires are extinguished. So stillness is absolutely the ultimate goal of this threefold path. It's all about reigning in the chaos of our impulses. Section 3. Why elevate the mind? The catalyst for inner growth and resilience. Okay, so why put ourselves through all this difficult work? The source material outlines 4 incredibly powerful motivations for this journey. First, we do it to set a moral example for those around us. Second, to achieve harmony, because let's face it, clashing egos completely destroy communities. Third, we do it to build the resilience we need to overcome life's inevitable tests. And ultimately, from an Eastern perspective, we do it to escape the endless cycle of suffering and rebirth. To illustrate this, the text uses a striking anecdote that really caught my attention. There was this woman who wanted to do some good in the world, so she volunteered to care for the elderly in her community. But to her absolute shock, the agency assigned her to care for her very own neglected, lonely father. The takeaway here is huge. We have to elevate our own inner morality and heal our own households first, before we can authentically venture out to help the wider world. True spiritual leadership has to start at home. And as we actively try to elevate our minds, we are absolutely going to face obstacles. But we really have to remember the old saying, a calm sea does not make a skilled sailor. The tests, the daily frustrations, the difficult people we encounter, they aren't just roadblocks. They are the exact catalysts that build our spiritual resilience. You simply cannot forge a strong mind without a little bit of heat. Section 4. 4 methods for elevation and the actionable steps for spiritual growth. So how do we transform all this deep philosophical theory into actual daily action? The text lays out 4 sequential steps. Step 1, let go of ego and shift perspectives. Step 2, use precepts as a mirror. Step 3, practice forgiveness. And step 4, reduce desires. Let's break these down one by one.
For the first step, letting go of ego really just means fundamentally shifting your perspective. The text shares this brilliant metaphor. If the mountain won't move, move the road. If the road won't move your mind. Instead of stubbornly trying to force the entire world to bend to your specific will, true power actually comes from adapting your own mind to the situation at hand. Step 2 involves using moral precepts, or rules of discipline, as a kind of internal alarm system. The text refers to this as the mirror of conscience. It's all about becoming so deeply self-aware that you physically feel a pang the second a thought strays from your true nature. You're catching those negative, harmful thoughts long before they ever have the chance to translate into outward words or actions. Step 3 focuses heavily on interpersonal harmony. Look, we all live in communities, and friction is pretty much inevitable. That's why practicing broad-minded forgiveness is absolutely crucial. The text points out that patience and a broad mind are the ultimate antidotes to division. Forgiving someone else isn't just a favor to them. It's a necessary step to keep your own mind untangled from resentment and bitterness. And then we have the fourth step, reducing desires. This is perfectly captured by a tragic but kind of humorous anecdote in the text. Imagine a farmer who digs up a solid gold statue of an enlightened sage, an arhat. You'd think he'd be absolutely thrilled, right? But instead, because he knows there are historically 18 arhats, he becomes completely miserable, obsessing over where the other 17 are buried. It perfectly highlights how human desire is just an endless, agonizing trap if we leave it unchecked. When we compare these two mindsets, the source material makes things unequivocally clear. The desire-driven mind is constantly anxious, and it's never, ever satisfied. On the flip side, the mastered mind is content, highly focused on the present moment, and deeply peaceful. Reducing those worldly desires is truly the only way to let your original, pure self finally take the driver's seat again. Section 5. The ultimate impact, and how inner growth creates outer harmony. The text leaves us with a powerful assertion. True change is completely an inside-out process. When you elevate your mind internally, that energy inevitably radiates outward. You naturally transition from being a wise internal sage to an effective external leader. Your small, everyday habits begin to compound into profound virtue. And by clearing that dust from your pure mind, you unlock a much deeper understanding of universal truths, which creates incredible positive ripples in the world around you. We're going to leave you with a final, provocative thought to reflect on today. If your true nature is inherently a perfectly clear mirror, what specific worldly desires or daily frustrations are currently clouding your reflection? Think about what steps you can take to wipe that dust away today. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.